Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming back and joining us for another episode. I'm so excited once again for our next guest. My man Josh has been holding it down in Shanghai. Josh actually is the one who gave me such a great profile picture. And I remember one day we took some photos by what do they call that thing? It's the main tower there in Shanghai. The Pearl Tower. Very, very beautiful, kind of an obelisk, not really. But all these towers have some phallic symbol, So Shanghai needs their own phallic symbol there. And, Josh is still holding it down in Shanghai. And Josh is special, guys, because this guy is a master when it comes to photography. Seriously. I actually still use those photos. And, you know, uh, it's actually the photos that I've got the most likes and greatest response. Like just a lot of great response on Facebook. Great responses on Facebook ever since I've uploaded that Facebook profile of mine, and I'm grateful to know Josh. Josh was actually working at the company that I was working at, and that's how I actually met him. And I think he came through with his camera. Yeah, he was in the subway. I think I saw him on the subway, and he had the camera, and I was like, "Yo, man, you take photos." And at that time, well, prior to that time, I used to take a lot of photos myself. But he had that special camera, that one that zooms in, and it makes like noise. That's Josh. He's really into photography, and he's actually very good at it. And so he's actually taken photos for a lot of people. In fact, my friend Devon, I think Devon got me onto Josh. Yeah, I think Devon might have got me onto Josh. Like, yo, man, this guy takes great photos. But he's just actually a really wonderful gentleman, and he's still teaching. And if I'm not mistaken, he's actually gotten really deep into his photography to the extent where he's actually created his own business. I could stand corrected. I'm just letting him know I'm ready. And so we're gonna find out straight from Josh to see if that's the case, and to see what it is we can learn. Because professionals, they all know things that are special to the game or centralized to their industry, and there's always something that we can learn, even if we're not in that industry. We can take tips and apply it in our own industry. But for the young stunners, we can get to learn what it's like for professionals to engage on day-to-day tasks and what you can expect in the world of photography. And so I'm just waiting for Josh. Let me let him know again. So yeah, I hadn't actually interacted with Josh in a long time, so it's actually gonna be good for me too to find out what's the latest. So I think here we go. Yo, what's up, Mr. Josh?
I think it's working, man. It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too, man.
How you doing? Pretty good.
How you been?
Yeah, man. Doing well. Kind of coming around to springtime here. Whoa, my hair is going kind of crazy.
That's looking great, man. It's looking cool. It reminds me of Grease Lightning.
Oh boy.
Grease Lightning, like.
Grease. I think grease is the operative word there. It's pretty greasy. We'll do all right.
Wow, man. So Josh, man, you still looking strong, man. You looking decked, man. You look like you still moving. You still moving it in the gym.
Trying to, yeah. Got to kind of make up for my diet. It's hard to outlift your diet, so trying to stay after it a little bit. Especially springtime's coming around. Sun's out, guns out. trying to stay fit, but that's a,
There
that's a constant struggle.
we go. There we go. And so what's your diet like? Like, what's happening with your diet?
Ah, man, that's kind of a weird question. I guess like gotta eat a lot of protein. So just like boring chicken. I eat like probably eat like 800 grams of chicken a day with hot sauce,
Way.
just to like, yeah, dude, it's really boring actually. So I just order them from Aldi and boil up some boring chicken, and then I don't know, probably
Wow.
eat that 4 or 5 times a week. So try and get swole, dude. You can't be eating none of that salad stuff. You gotta get some just get off that chicken.
Okay. So you got goals to like put on mass, put on more mass. I mean, you got mass. I guess you want more
Yeah,
mass.
I got a massive gut right now. I'm actually trying to cut into that a little bit. So it's just,
Uh,
honestly at this point the quote unquote gains are probably not coming, or they've slowed or whatever. It's just psychologically and emotionally that like critical voice turns down like after you put in a hard workout, be it running or lifting or whatever. The psychological emotional benefits of it are probably what's more compelling at this point. But yeah, it's nice to get in and get after it a little bit and get scream at the weights and just kind of go through it. You always feel pretty chilled and relaxed after you get through with a pretty hard workout. I think at this point it's more about the emotional benefits of it probably.
okay, that's very interesting, man. So for are you still teaching in Shanghai?
Yeah, so after the lockdown, the school I worked for, I guess they kind of went out of business or really close to it, so they were cutting back. So when I got out of the lockdown, my visa had lapsed, and the company that was sponsoring it had gone out of business. So I was kind of in this weird position where I didn't have a visa and I didn't have a job lined up because you can't really search for jobs in a meaningful way during the lockdown.
Yeah.
So there was a really big rush. Excuse me. There's a really big rush when that finished. So I ended up taking a position at Shanghai Middle School, which is like it's a pretty nice international school. They have a local division and they have an international division. So I teach middle school, like honors English and literature to the middle school grade 6 kids. And these guys are, as before, I was teaching more of like ESL, so to really young kids. Now I teach middle school to students who their folks are Chinese natives, but these students all have passports for other countries because they were born in, say, America or Hong Kong or England or somewhere. So their parents have brought them back to study English, and I guess from a native speaker. So they get that Chinese immersion, and they also get direct instruction in English. So it's a different type of teaching. I kind of miss teaching the young kids sometimes, but it's cool to be conversational with my students too. They blow my mind with how amazing they are.
Wow, man, that's really
Yeah,
awesome.
pretty
How long
wild.
have you been how long have you been doing that?
That's been about, I guess, this is my second year in that role. So yeah, I guess since the lockdown finished, I've been doing that, and seems to be pretty stable at the moment. I mean, the school's pretty well established, so this is a different situation than working in training centers, which seem to be they're more in the private sector. This is kind of a government sponsored to some degree, or at least supported school. So feels like it has a bit more of that stability. So I can at least have one dimension of stability in my life, I guess.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
gotta
that's
have it.
that's
How about you,
important,
man?
man.
What are you up to?
Oh,
You in Taiwan these days?
yeah. I'm teaching at a cram school. I guess it's the equivalent to a training center to some extent.
Sure.
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
they studying for an exam or?
Well, we're basically still teaching ESL style. Some kids are studying for exams, but my students range from K3 to elementary school.
Sure.
So yeah,
I miss that age, man. They're really fun. They're just everything is so awesome to them. It kind of
yeah,
keeps you. I just remember like being really appreciative of things, just seeing how excited they get about simple stuff. and I'm over here like, oh, I have to do something. And then I'm like, oh wait, the world's actually full of cool stuff. Like these guys are getting excited over a sticker or like a picture of a bug. I'm like, chill, dude. There's a lot to be thankful for here. So it's always a constant reminder working with the young kids because they're always jazzed by the most mundane stuff. So that was a
That's so
healthy place
true.
to be.
That,
A lot of fun to teach that age group.
you just reminded me, man. I should actually start giving my kids stickers again. I actually totally forgot to give. I owe them so many stickers now. Now that I
Oh,
think about
dude,
it.
that's gonna take you to the next level. Actually, I used to buy like a box of like colorful buttons, like for your shirt, different colors and different
Oh
sizes,
yeah.
and be like, here you go. Now, don't give it to the 3-year-olds, as it might be a choking hazard. But like the kids are like, we had a whole like button economy. If you got 5 buttons, you could exchange it for a sticker. It was pretty sophisticated, but you know, they get jazzed over a button. How cool is that? I wish I could
So
get
cool.
excited about stuff. Yeah, dude, it's cool. It's nice to see.
I feel like I learn a lot from students, even though I'm the teacher. Like teaching students, like there's a lot to still learn. As a teacher, just from them. It's like sometimes I feel like they're teaching me,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
sometimes I'm
that's one really
listening.
good way to learn Chinese at the outset was I would just, I was teaching really young kids, so I would teach apple and banana, and I'd try to learn how to say that in Chinese as well. And so it also helps you empathize with them a little bit more because you might tend to get annoyed, like, well, why can't you say supermarket? It's like, well, guy, can you say supermarket in Chinese? And so like when you go through the struggle, you can kind of meet them halfway and understand where they're at with with that.
I think I was asking you about your photography. If that's something you're still doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a really important aspect of my life. So it's kind of a creative outlet that if I don't make time to engage in that, then I start feeling anxious or as if something's off. So it's something that I have to actively engage with frequently. Otherwise, I start getting a little bit out of sorts. So it's kind of a meditative experience for me as well. The type of photography I enjoy is actually candid street photography. So it just mainly is looking and walking and waiting and hoping, so it's kind of a relaxing experience to go around and look for interesting things. And so even if I don't end up getting an image that I like love, I spend the day like looking for reasons to appreciate the mundane, or like looking for an intriguing way to represent the otherwise ordinary. So that's all very healthy, but um, it's just so hit or miss whether or not you're going to get anything that I I have to have a lot of structure in the other aspects of my life. So in my job and in my relationships and financially and all so on and so forth, so that I can make space for this less structured time and hobby that is important to me. So definitely still engaged with it, but just like anything, it kind of ebbs and flows in terms of motivation and inspiration. And there is like there's like it's kind of like working out. Like if you only work out when you feel like working out, you're going to be in rough shape. So like if you only do creative, whatever your preferred creative outlet is, when you feel inspired, you're gonna be waiting around a lot. So there's kind of a degree of hard hat mentality you have to like, nope, I'm just gonna go out. I'm just gonna pick up the camera. I'm gonna go out and do this and see what
Yeah.
happens. So that sort of a attitude I think carries over into other aspects of your life as well. So just do it, one foot in front of the other type attitude, and then before long you're like, oh yeah, this is fun. This is what I do. This is cool. So constantly reminding yourself to do that and to get into that headspace is important.
When did you actually start getting involved in photography?
Actually, I've lived in China now for almost 9 years. So I started like I guess 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. I was living in a little town called Yangzhou, which is about an hour east of Nanjing. And I used to just like walking around, and I really enjoyed this sense of being kind of unfindable. So I would walk around in these little alleys and little neighborhoods, and I would see interesting things. And I would be like, okay, store that in your brain for 8 months to tell your friends back home because there's no way that, there's no one to share it with and no way to really share it. And I thought, well, maybe I should get a camera. Maybe I should try getting a camera. And So that's what I did. I bought a camera for my birthday. I bought it for myself, and I walked around one afternoon, and looking back at the photos, they're ridiculous. But I thought, wow, you might be able to. You kind of have a knack for this, Josh. Um, at the time, there wasn't much to look at, but it was just a really invigorating experience. And as soon as I engaged with it, I knew I was like, this is something that I don't know. It kind of seized me, and so it's been fun exploring that and deepening that, and I don't know, kind of pursuing that since then. So yeah, about probably 5 or 6 years since I began.
Okay, wow, that's amazing, man. I remember the first time like I found out. I have this memory where I think we were going to a meeting and you were on the same train as me and I saw you. You had a camera, and I think that's when we started speaking about it.
Yeah,
Um,
China's just so full of interesting stuff, that you're constantly assaulted with just interesting and unique things. And so that, I mean, like makes it so much more, I guess, easy to engage with because I'm just like assaulted with in a ton of weird stuff that I would never see. Whereas like if I'm at home, like when you're like at home and you drive home and you don't even remember the drive, you're like, how did I get here? Because you just tune out and you're so used to that commute. That never happens in China because there's always like a dog walks into the shop or a man comes in with one shoe or like a guy rides bicycles on fire. There's just all sorts of crazy stuff happening, and so it's just constant stream, which is for the type of photography I like. Like it's partially luck based, and like I don't get to ask the person, "Hey, can you do that again?" I have to catch it, and oftentimes I don't. So but the positive aspect of it is, well, China's going to present you, the universe is going to present you with another interesting thing. Just keep your eyes open. So you kind of just move from one interesting thing to another. But how about you? Do you have any like creative hobbies, or do you have any hobbies? I know you're a writer. Like you were writing a book, you're publishing a book last time I spoke to you.
yes, yes, yes. That was actually a very uh, excruciating but interesting ordeal. Um,
Writing is
yeah,
hard, man. Writing is the hardest one. That's why nobody
man,
does it.
it's so crazy. I just haven't written much ever since. Actually wrote a um what do you call this? A workbook for a phonics workbook
Really?
for young students. Yeah.
That's cool.
Uh, yeah, based on wild animals.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, that was pretty cool. That was an
Do
interesting
you
experience.
do you journal? I know there are a lot of like kind of personal development personalities are always advocating for journaling. I tend to like kind of get started with it and then tail off and get started with it. I've never been really consistent about it, but I find that when I
Yeah.
am, I enjoy it, but it just seems to kind of be tough to stick to. Like everything that I should do, I guess.
Yeah, it's actually very difficult to stick to journaling. Like I've tried to teach my students to do it. I think it's about, the training. Like it's not a part of our upbringing. Well, I mean, some people it is, but I think if it was like something that was instilled in you from young, you end up, actually being
Yeah,
more disciplined in it. But I
something like that.
journal rarely. Yeah. I'm like
Yeah, I
on
hear
and
you.
off, you
Okay,
know.
I never know who like I'm writing for. Is like, am I don't know what perspective to write from. Is it for future Josh? Is it for posterity? Is it for my potential kids in the future, say? Who's it for? And then how much detail? Do I want to do bullet points or I don't know. I just haven't been able to come up with a consistent format and also I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. Like I kind of lose, if it's not stable, and I'm going to lose it probably. So there goes like your whole record. So I'm afraid maybe a
Yes,
digital
that's
version would
true.
be where it's at, but it's just not as cool. It's like I constantly buy these. Like I have these type of like note, like just a leather notebook. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool, but it's empty or it's got a shopping list in it, right?
Yeah. I actually I've had that problem actually. Like I used to journal a lot. There was one stage where I was like journaling every day, multiple times a day sometimes. And now I don't have those journals. Um, so it is one of those things. But then there's
This
also
is
a kind
kind
of
of
a
a
beauty.
record though too, right? These videos kind of serve as a record as well, and so these will be maybe perhaps this is the new journaling,
That's
documenting.
exactly how I see it. Like, I believe that we'll never have this second, or this minute ever again. And so for me, this is a really interesting way to sort of, you know, get in touch with some people to figure out, what are they still doing. Because I remember we had a photography session where you took some photos of me there by the Pearl Tower.
That's right. Yeah.
And hey man, those photos are dope. I still use those photos. I actually use those photos for
Cool.
my interview. They're just really great photos.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Happy that they worked out. That's not really my forte, portraiture. So that was kind of an interesting adventure. I've done a few uh, shoots like that for social media or just for friends, but I'm happy that they turned out cool because normally I'm just like taking a black and white picture of a garbage can or taking a black and white picture of a bicycle, like something a little less structured. So it's cool that I'm happy. I'm happy they worked.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Sure, man.
And when it comes to the journaling, I think another thing that could help is, I mean, especially for the craft that you have, maybe like whenever you go out and take a photo, maybe you could print one of those photos and they just like write about, what it felt or
That's a
what
good
it
point.
means.
Yeah, I do kind of. I do have like I use OneNote like on my phone. It's like a Microsoft note taking app. I'm sure there's
Okay.
tons of different ones, but this one's cool. So I have like a couple of different lists, and one list would be like times when I'm like emotionally moved or like moved to tears. So like keeping a record of maybe it's a song strikes you a certain way, or maybe you saw a museum, or you got a unexpected message from a friend, and it moves you in a positive way. And I try to make note of when that happens because I want to be able to plot a pattern of like be in places where you're totally emotionally engaged and moved by the situation. So if you
Mm.
can plot those, maybe you can somehow steer yourself or plan to be in those situations more frequently, or at least have a reminder of their importance. So I think you don't have to necessarily write a lot about it, but putting those notes down and then going back and looking at them when you're feeling down or you're feeling bored or you're feeling as if you're in a rut, you can kind of get a couple of shots of useful meaning back to some degree. Maybe that will help get you up off the couch or whatever the case may be. So I do that, I guess.
That's cool. That's cool. You're actually reminding me of a movie that is my favorite movie. Have you ever seen Memento?
Yeah, yeah, I have. I don't write it on my body, but it's close enough.
I love that movie, man. I love that movie.
Yeah,
And
Christopher Nolan, right? I think one of his
yeah,
first ones. Cool.
yeah, yeah. One of his early movies, man. To me, it's just an ultimate classic. But
For
I
sure.
like the process that the protagonist goes through. Where you'll take a photo of someone and then write on the photo, and then realize that, oh, hang on, what I've written is incorrect, or just change the
Yeah,
notes.
it's a
It's
really strange concept. It's a cool idea. I like the
yeah,
idea of having the Polaroid photos as well. Those are the ones that like the camera prints it right out.
yes,
The cool thing about those is unlike a digital file or even like a piece of film that you like
mm,
from a regular old 35 millimeter film camera, like you can never remake that Polaroid, right? That's you have that Polaroid. That's it.
that's
Flaws
it.
and all. So like that's a cool kind of a cool medium as well. It's kind of hip. I think it's kind of coming back a little bit, but it's also like a one-off. There's no copying this. You could photocopy it, I guess, but you won't have that artifact. So that's kind of a cool thing.
Yes,
Kind
I
of like a
think I,
memory, right?
I think it's important because we're living in such a digital world where we don't really have photo albums anymore. Like I was thinking about it, when I
Yeah,
was young, we used to have photo albums, and it was very exciting to actually look in the photo album. It was almost like an
yeah.
event,
No,
and I missed it.
I totally understand that feeling. I actually did a part of a photo exhibition recently, and printing the photos and then interacting with them, like walking up to an image and looking at it and engaging with it and studying it and seeing it like in a tactile physical form is a much different experience. And it's like, huh, Josh, you should do this more. A photo is meant to be printed out, right? You don't have to always print it on nice paper and make it fancy, but it's cool to have like artifacts like that around. And so I like to print things that I've taken that I think inspire me and put them around. And that way, again, it kind of holds me to account when I look around and I'm like, what should I just lay down and eat a burrito? And I'm like, oh no, I should go get something like that. So constantly trying to outsmart myself by putting hints around, like, go outside and do something. But having that
Yeah,
physical thing is cool. And it is sad we don't really have a yeah, photo albums.
yeah,
During
yeah,
during the lockdown, Shanghai was locked down forever. Were you here during the lockdown?
yeah. It was mad.
Yeah, that's probably why you're not here anymore, right? I guess all that fun.
It's a part of it. It's a part of it. Yeah,
Yeah, best time we never want to have again. But
man.
my mom sent me a bunch of old photos. I felt really disconnected and isolated. Obviously, you're isolated. So I asked my mom to send me a bunch of old photos. So she like took pictures of old photos on her phone and sent them to me. And it was weird to kind of like connect with these people from my family's past and through photos. And so I found my grandma and grandpa's wedding album from like 1954, black and white. And we had a lot of time, so I like recolorized one of the wedding images of my grandma and grandpa getting married. So like, on Photoshop, you can go in and like change black and white to color. It's a long process, but you can do it. And I had, so I did that and I made like a big print for my mom of like her parents' wedding and it was recolorized. So it is
Awesome.
cool when you actually have a photo. Like I'm starting to think I need to print more. Good reminder, man.
Yeah, yeah. It's even for myself. I should actually do it. I used to take photos. Before coming to Shanghai. I mean, I didn't have a special camera, but I just loved the process. Just like
It's
every
fun.
day. Yeah, like.
It's for like candid photos, man. A can't like a phone is where it's at because you pull
Mm,
out a camera and it's you're probably like focusing and maybe it's a menacing camera and people are like, what do you do? Everybody has a phone out. It's so easy to take like little snaps with a phone and not disturb the scene or make people annoyed or suspicious or whatever. It's a really easy way to do it. And I bet you we all walk by stuff every day and we're like, that's next. I'll get it next time. Maybe. No, you
yeah,
won't. Train
yeah,
that part of your brain to be like, yes, do it now, snap it now. And that's another aspect of photography that I like too. Is like I can't sit there and think, oh, should I do it or should I not? It's like this moment's going to be gone if you don't take it right now. So turn off that analytical part and focus more in on like, are you having a reaction to this scene and seize it, right? And I think I need to develop that, become less over analyzing in other aspects of my life and just take a step or make a move, right? And then you have a data point or you have a result. So I think it carries a lot of what I do in photography. I think I'm training other parts of my brain to hopefully develop other aspects of my life. At least that's what I tell myself. We'll see.
Well, I think that is the beauty of art. Like, it's not removed from the rest of, life. It's actually, I feel like there's a symbiotic relationship in, everything that you do. It's like the idea of taking a photo. There's so much beauty in it because that moment that you capture, even it may seem as insignificant as it may be, like maybe it's just the clouds, but the fact of the matter is that those clouds will never be the same in that position. And even if
Yeah.
they will, you won't find yourself in that position to record it again. Uh,
That's like the old Seneca saying, right? Like you can stand in the same river, but the river's different and the man's different. I just butchered it, but I understand the sentiment. Something
yeah.
about the ephemerality of any given moment that you're capturing something, and as mundane as it may or may not be, is it's very unique unto itself. And that's one of the cool things about when you pick up a camera, or if you give a camera to your friend or to a kid, or the first time you pick it up, dude, you're taking pictures of like your shoe and the door and the, like the ketchup bottle because suddenly, now that you have this device, you are now keyed in to like how much incredible detail we are surrounded by that we just kind of ignore. But as soon as you have an excuse to capture it, you suddenly are like, oh, like, have you ever noticed the keyboard? It's like, dude, yeah, I have. So it takes, it feels like the floodgates open on all this detail, and you want to take a picture of literally everything. So that's what happens when you first get a camera, and then you have to kind of find a way to kind of pare that down into the most essential aspects that evoke an emotion and are not crowding it, which is weird. Like, because in like a lot of other art forms are additive, like painting, you're adding, right? Music, you're adding layers. Photography is
Yeah.
reductive. You have to reduce. Maybe we're not. It's not additive. It's subtractive, right? So I have to decide how much of my face do I have to show before you
Mm,
get my face, or like, can I suggest that this is something without directly showing it? Is there a shadow? Is there a reflection? And so it's taking away as much as you can to draw the eye to whatever particular aspect of the image or subject matter that you want. So it's kind of it's something again I need to carry over into the rest of my life. Like maybe put something down every day rather than pick something up because you'll find that
yeah.
I've lived in this apartment for 2 years and it's starting to, the walls are closing in because you're just accruing crap, right? And maybe putting things
Yeah.
down is also helpful.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I think that's actually pretty important. And what about your kids? Do your kids, your students, do they have like an awareness of your photography? Do they get involved?
And they, once your employer finds out that you can do any kind of media work, photography, anything, you will be asked to do that. So they're aware of it because whenever we have like we had a dodgeball tournament on Thursday, or we had like a history play or speaking competition, they'll ask me to do it, and I'm happy to do that. And it's really cool to be able to, use professional gear to give the kids a professional look, and then I'll do it, and then I'll come in early in the morning, and there's a big TV next to the office, and I'll like put them on that TV, and so when the kids come into the school, I'll be gathered around the panel, like, oh, which one's me and which one's my friends, and like it's just kind of a fun like experience. And for me personally, it's just good practice. So kids don't exactly stand still for very long. So it really it trains my reflexivity and ability to frame quickly and look for subject matter quickly. So it's helpful for me, and it's also I think the students think it's fun and cool, and then the school gets to steal it and I mean use it for promotional materials, right? So
Exactly.
everybody wins at the end of the day, I think. So it is pretty cool to be able to bring that aspect in. My students are quite advanced too, so we'll be talking about theme, like we'll be talking about the theme of a poem, and we'll say, oh, the author is saying, oh, the genius of the crowds, for example, is a poem that we talk about, and it's kind of about not falling into the ordinary or to crowd mentality. And I'll be like, okay, can you think of a movie that has that theme, or can you think of a book? And so well, I'll pull up a photo, or I'll pull up a painting, or I'll pull up a song, and like kind of having that different media, different creative work. You can find theme, and you can find pacing. You can find all the different like literary aspects paced well onto other forms of expressive art as well. So it's cool to bring in into our English class, like we're going to analyze a painting today, you know. So I like to
That's
mix it
pretty
up and
cool.
bring in some visual art too, but none of my own stuff. It's not quite to that level yet. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I think that's great, man. Especially because it's a unique angle and it's fun and it's also tangible. Like, I mean, if the kids can learn, how to frame, how to zoom, how to focus, I think you might find that there are some students that actually pick it up and are inspired and actually do it
They
as a hobby and maybe even become professional. I don't know.
they love it. I mean, I try to encourage them. I try to reward creativity or unique
Yeah.
answers, right? I think that's I guess an underutilized aspect in the classroom. one on the teacher's side, like creativity is an undervalued aspect of a teacher. Like a great teacher can creatively pull out an activity or design an interaction with students that is unique to them and interesting and intriguing. It takes tremendous creativity to do that. Makes you good at your job, right? Unique solutions to things. That's an expression of creativity. So, what you're doing here with the podcasting or with the video work, being on camera, you know how you could there people would rather get a root canal than stand in front of people and say words, like
It's
if you
incredible.
have that skill in your tool belt, that's puts you ahead of so many, let's say, competitors in any field, right? Like you're the person that the boss can rely on to give a presentation. People be throwing money at you to work with you and to cooperate with you and to give you responsibility and to open doors and give you opportunities. So I have my kids, we do I bought these like little black classics. They're like penguin black classics. So they're like excerpts from major novels like Dostoevsky and a ton of different world literature. And they're
Mm.
just small, like you can almost fit them in your pocket. And the students have to read it and do a book report. But the book report is ancillary to me. I don't even really care about that very much. But they have to produce a creative artifact. Video specifically, either they can do a reenactment, they can do a book review, they can do uh, I don't know, they can do all sorts of stuff with video. And so the skill that I'm trying to encourage there with that is this presentation skill and interacting with newer media. And the kids go wild and go creative with it. It's really cool. And it's like, man, that's a portfolio piece. You can chuck that into your high school application video, right? I don't know what,
That's
but
so true.
it's a skill that puts you ahead of a lot of people because it's uncommon to feel comfortable in a situation like that. So be the person who is comfortable with that. Make that your friend, and you have a superpower now. So try to hammer that home for them a little bit.
Man, I love that because for me, I feel like sometimes school sort of slows students down in terms of not really giving them the full extent of whatever we're teaching. Like, I feel that if we could actually get students to become competitive while they're still young, it just gives them so much more confidence to enter the workforce or to even become independent. So, for example, if they learned photography now instead of waiting to get into university or have
Yeah,
some
pick it up
college career,
earlier is
that
better, right?
yeah,
I think there's something interesting. On the one hand, I completely agree with the idea of because never was exposed to that. I went to a very small school. I graduated with like 30 kids, dude. Like we had 500 kids,
jeez,
kindergarten through 12th grade. So there wasn't a lot in terms of extracurriculars or anything. So I never, or languages, and language and art happen to be two things that are very core to my being, and never was exposed to them. Later, I had to seek them out, which is fine, and it's part of the adventure, and that's what you're meant to do to some extent. But there's something encouraging too about like I had no idea I liked photography, and then when I was like 31 or whatever, however old, I was like found this thing, and now it's a super important part of my life. And it's like, well, how many other of those Easter eggs are hidden out there? You need to go dig around. You should
that-
be searching everywhere behind every bush, meaning try stuff. I
yes,
think once you get out of school, you just, well, I've been taught, and like a lot of folks don't seek out new challenging experiences. And that's how you end up in stasis. So like dig around, walk down some alleys, buy a camera, start a pot, like just trying things. And so like rewarding the exploration and rewarding the effort in terms of having a try at something unique. I'd rather reward a kid for giving me a really interesting, creative wrong answer. I'd give that the same amount of points maybe in an essay for somebody who gave me the boilerplate answer, right? So
yes.
encouraging that type of kind of divergent thinking, I think, is really, really, really worthwhile.
Yeah, you know what, Josh? I think what you're doing is really great, man, because at, uh, for me personally, I would love to have a teacher that sort of shows me his artworks and gives me that inspiration that, okay, we're not just gonna sit here and do what we expected to do, but there's a little bit more and it's actually fun and it's something that's student can actually then perhaps do in
No,
their
dude,
spare time.
the kids are. and especially the age you're teaching at, and this is one thing I learned teaching young kids, is the kids are a mirror, dude. Whatever you walk in with in terms of your countenance, in terms of your attitude, they reflect that back to you. And so, like,
Yeah,
if you're not excited about the material you're teaching, find a way to inject some material that you are excited about. Like, I like paintings, so I want to talk about them. And the kids can pick up on how jazzed you are about it, and they're jazzed. Like a TED Talk, half the fun is like, I don't know anything about cellular biology, but I love seeing somebody who knows a lot about it be super excited about it so I can get
yeah.
down with it, right? So that sort of that interest and that enjoyment is infectious, and you should be seeking to incorporate that in your lessons because it's going to give you free engagement, which means fewer class management issues. Everybody's jazzed, everybody's interested. Well, you don't have to manage them then because it's not boring. Most of the behavior problems come from you know bored students who have nothing to do. So
That is so true. That is so true. I will never be able to disagree with that. And what do you do when you find yourself having bored students? Or do you find that, or where you see, well, where you see the behavior, like you have some behavior issues, like how do you deal with that?
I think a lot of it can be avoided with tight planning, being familiar with the content, knowing a lot more about whatever you're teaching than what you're presenting that day. So maybe we're teaching a grammar point that I need to brush up on. I need to know a lot about it before I present it, right? That means that I won't get lost. I think my biggest thing for me personally is as teaching older kids now, you don't need to have it so teacher led. When you're teaching very young, like 3 or 4 year olds, everything is very teacher led because they're just not capable of carrying on a conversation or structuring a group work in the same way that middle schoolers are. So that transition, instead of me picking kids to do things and talking individually to kids, is giving them agency and like allowing there to be a few moments of silence in the classroom where they figure out what's going on and start doing the activity without me having to like guide so much. And so that was kind of a blind spot coming from ESL and working with students who are a little bit more capable and their English is a little more sophisticated. Put all of the agency into their hands. You guys want a scoring system? Cool. Okay. Tell me how it works. Come up with one. I'll do it. You guys keep track of it. Oh, you guys want to do this activity? Okay. I'm going to give you guys a minute in your group. Every group submit one thing and then we'll vote, so you can outsource a lot of your work to these kids under the guise of giving you agency. They like it. You do less work. There's more engagement. If the students are capable of it, it's a win-win. So avoiding boredom is essentially getting more students involved, which means putting more responsibility in their hands and letting them manage it. You still have to guide them a bit, but they like it when they have a little bit more stuff they can do.
Yeah, it gives them this sense of ownership. Like,
Yeah, for
it's,
sure.
it's
Everybody likes that. I'll
yeah,
outline the desired result, but however you guys want to get there, it's up to you. You guys figure that part out. They like that.
yeah. And for have you ever dabbled with NFTs when it comes to your photo?
NFTs? No, I
Yeah.
haven't. I don't really understand the how to make them and how to get. I don't know which blockchain to be a part of or which one is. The short answer, no. They're kind of a mystery to me at this point still.
Okay. Well, I can suggest looking into Pulse Chain if you ever want to sort of dabble into that. Just because Pulse Chain, the fees are very low and the barrier of entry is very low. So it's like a good sort of place to, you know, test the
How
process.
much? How much does it cost? Like just what would be like a ballpark for like an NF to make an NFT on a blockchain as a person who
Well,
knows nothing about it? Or are we looking
so
like $100 or $10 or
no, not even. Like on some networks like Ethereum, you might have to pay between 10 and even up to $50, maybe even more. But with Pulse Chain, the great thing about Pulse Chain is it's a fork of Ethereum, but the fees are super low. So it basically has the same kind of capabilities, if not more than Ethereum, but it's way cheaper. So there you'll pay maybe 2 cents, if that,
Oh,
to
cool.
create an NFT. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I think NFTs are kind of they're probably going to be the way. I think where blockchain is right now, it's kind of like where automobiles were in 1900. We like knew they're going to be a thing, but nobody's figured out exactly how to get them to market and how to have the average guy interact with it. But the technology is something that's clearly going to be transformative. I think we're there in that sense with blockchain technology in general. It's just a matter of time to figure out, okay, which blockchain's going to win, which one's going to have the adoption, which one. Once all that's figured out, I think the technology itself is so incredible, like this immutable. I think it's going to have a lot of interesting applications for like authentication and identity as well,
yes,
especially with all the deep
absolutely.
fakes and AI stuff that's becoming available now too. There'll be interesting applications for that as well.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited about that. And for some of the viewers, maybe I got some students that want to find out more about your work,
Sure.
or some people that may be interested. Where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
You can find me on Instagram. I'm not very active on Instagram. I'm not not very sophisticated social media user.
Yeah.
But I do have an Instagram and I do post there. So you can find me there. It's Josh Stanley 67. JOSHSTANLEY 67 at Instagram. You guys can check out if you're interested in kind of candid street photography from China. Come scope it out. Or if you have any questions about cameras or gear or technique, hit me in the DMs. I'll try to get back to you. I have over 300 followers, so I'm pretty busy responding. Not really. So feel free to reach out to me if anybody's interested in any aspect of street photography or photography in general. It'd be cool.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh, I want to say thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate everything that you've
Yeah, man, it's
shared
been
with
great to
me.
catch up with you. I appreciate what you're doing, and I appreciate the questions you ask. It really made me. It's just like when you teach, you have to kind of organize. Well, why do I like this thing? You have to take a look at your thoughts from arm's length. So answering questions about photography helps me clarify to myself part of the reason why I like it. And so that's encouraging and kind of reinforces my desire to engage with it. So in that regard, I want to say thank you as well.
Thanks. I appreciate it, man. Yeah,
All right.
it's a pleasure, man. It's a pleasure.
You
So
too, man.
enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week coming up. Hope
Appreciate it.
you smash.
All right. Take care, brother. I'll talk to you next time. Thank you.
All right. Cheers, Josh.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye. So, guys, once again, have another amazing, incredible. I mean, Josh is so amazing. I don't even know how to describe him sometimes. Guys, I've had the pleasure of actually being, in the presence of Josh. Like, you guys don't understand. This guy is built. Like, this guy, like, if you see him, you feel like, you got to work harder in the gym. But that's great. I like meeting people like that make you, more inspired to do what you're already doing. And Josh is one of those individuals. And, he's really talented at what he does. I'm actually going to look at his Instagram too to see, what else has he been doing. Some of these photos that he takes, man, it's just, I don't know. He's got a skill that's unique. You got to see it for yourself, guys. And I love that he's, letting us spill over into the youth. Guys, I feel like these are the best teachers. The teachers that share their passion with their students and that find creative ways to engage in the content. And it's actually making me think, I should actually, reconsider some of my lessons and how I approach them. So it's been wonderful to have Josh on the show. Guys, I'm bringing you the best of the best. Like, not average, not mediocre. We coming through with snipers here. So thank you for staying tuned. And guys, there's more coming, more heat. Have a great day.